All right, here's your quiz corrections for this second quiz for chapter 2. Only watch the ones that you know you absolutely need. If you don't need them, don't watch them. Just fast forward to the next one. Don't waste your time. So in number 1, you guys had to determine whether the graph was even, odd, or neither. And this is even. And the reason it is even is my graph is symmetric to the y-axis. It's that simple. You had no work to do there. You just had to recognize how the symmetry was. If it was odd, it would have been symmetric to the origin. So even is the y-axis, odd is origin. Anything else is neither. All right, number 2. Determine algebraically whether the function is even, odd, or neither. So what I have to do is I need to plug in negative x for x. Since I have an odd exponent, I'm going to be left with the negative. So I'm going to bring the negative to the front. So negative 5x cubed. And when I compare this back to the original function, I can see that all signs changed. Therefore, this is an odd function. If no signs changed, then it would be even. All right, number 3. The graph of a constant, feel talky, my voice hurts. The graph of a function is given. Determine whether the function is increasing, decreasing, or constant on the given interval. So remember, an interval is from x to x. It's not a point xy. So they are saying from -4, here's -4, to -2. Here's -2. So -4, -2 on the x. So it's everything that's in between here. And you can see that this is decreasing because it's going in the downward direction. If it was going up, it would be increasing. And if it was flat, it would be constant. All right, let's go to number 4. The graph of a function f is given. Use the graph to answer the question. Find the numbers, if any, at which f has a local maximum. And then what are they? So maximum is a high point and it only has one. So you could say it has a max of 2, or you can say f of 0 equals 2. Or you can say a max of 2 at 0. I would also take 0, 2. So either of those, you're just identifying, the main thing here is that you're identifying the 2. That is your maximum. If I was asking for a minimum, then I would have wanted the 2 bottommost points. Number 5, find the average rate of change. So in class, when we talked about this, the average rate of change is the same as the slope. So I'm going to take the 5 and I'm going to plug in for x. So I'm going to have 5 squared plus 9 times 5. So 25 plus 45 gives me 70. So this is the 0.5, 70. Now I'm going to plug in 7 to both x's. So 7 squared plus 9 times 7, 49 plus 63. I'm going to cheat and get my calculator. 49 plus 63 is 112. So this is the 0.712. Now I'm going to find the slope. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So 112 minus 70 over 7 minus 5. 112 minus 70 gives me 40. 7 minus 5 is 2. So my average rate of change is 20. Number 6. Find an equation of the secant line. So for this one, I actually have to find the slope first. So what I did in number 5, I have to do in number 6. So here I have to start by plugging in 1 to both of those. So 1 cubed minus 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. So when I plug in 1, I get 0. Now I'm going to plug in 2 to both of those. 2 cubed minus 2, 8 minus 2 is 6. So when I plugged in 2, I got 6. So I'm going to find the slope. 6 minus 0 over 2 minus 1. So I end with 6 over 1, which is 6. But since I want the equation of the secant line, I need to use point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'm going to go ahead and use the 0.10. It's a lot easier to work with. So y minus 0 equals 6 times x minus 1. And I get y equals 6x minus 6. Hopefully those first 6 make sense. If not, ask me in class tomorrow and we'll do it in person, and then maybe you can kind of see where your mistakes were a little easier. Number 7. So here you have a table, and you guys had questions like this in your homework, and it gives you all of this unnecessary information till I get to find the average rate of change between 1995 and 1997. Here's 95, here's 97. Average rate of change is slope. So these are my x's, these are my y's. So 3010 minus 2480 all over 1997 minus 1995. So I'm going to cheat, use my calculator again. Minus 2480. This gives me 530 divided by 2. So my average rate of change ends up being $265 per year. I'm not going to mark you wrong if you guys didn't put the dollars per year, but it's 265. All right, number 8, identify the graph of the function. So this should have been a pretty easy one. You guys had your library of functions to look at. Just from the shape of this, this is a square root graph. That's just knowing what you're looking for. Number 9, graphing a piecewise function. So my first graph I'm going to do in orange, and I'm going to graph y equals x minus 5. So I'm going to go -5. Another way you guys can do this, and it might help you for those of you who are struggling with piecewise functions, you can make a table. And since it says x has to be less than 1, I start with 1, 0, -1. That's enough. You could use -2 if you wanted to. So I'm picking numbers that are 1 and less than it. 1 minus 5, -4. 0 minus 5, -5. -1 minus 5, -6. And you can kind of see the pattern from there. So my first point is 1, -4. Then it's 0, -5, -1, -6. And I'm going to put an open circle, and then I'm going to connect those. My next graph I'll do in green. And this one is actually pretty easy. It's y equals 3. And then it's greater than or equal to 1. So I'm going to use for my x values 1, 2, 3, 4. But my equation is y equals 3, so it's 3, 3, 3, 3. So 1, 3. 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3. And since it's solid, or the equal to, it's going to get a closed circle. So close circle and then connect the points. So there's your piecewise function. All right, number 10. We're almost done, guys. Number 10 wants you to write the equation of this graph. First, you have to recognize that, let's just go with that. This is an absolute value function. We could put this together as a piecewise graph if we really, really wanted to, but I'm not going to bother with that because we don't exactly know if this is ending or not, because there would have been points on there. So I'm just going to grade this as absolute value. If you wrote this as a piecewise function, I will have that answer for you too, but I'll do the absolute value first. Actually, in class, I'll probably tell you, just write the equation as an absolute value function. So, absolute value of x would be where I'm starting from. But since my graph went right to from the center, inside, I'm going to put x minus 2. So there's the equation of my graph. It's much easier if you look at this as an absolute value function. And I'm not going to have to multiply by anything because its slope is up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So I don't have to worry about a number in front of x. So that one's pretty simple. So don't worry about the piecewise. Probably told you in class, just do absolute value. All right, number 11. Write the equation for the absolute value function. So it's telling us it's the absolute value function. Shifted 5 to the left. Well, 5 to the left means I'm actually going to have the absolute value with the positive 5 inside. So there's my equation for the absolute value function. If it was up or down 5, then it would be on the outside of the absolute value. And last, number 12. We have another square root function here. So I'm actually going to draw the parent graph to the square root function, which starts at 0, 0. Stupid computer. Starts at 0, 0. And then the square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. So there's my first points for the square root graph. Now, this tells me to go right 2, and this tells me to go up 6. So I'm going to take each of my points, right 2, up 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right 2, up 6. Right 2, somewhere over here. Right 2, up 6. So you'll have a graph that is very similar to what you had. It's just been shifted. I'll be looking for just rough. All I did look for was rough sketches when I graded these. So, don't panic if it's not 100% accurate. But if you did go the wrong way, I marked you wrong. So hopefully you had this one correct. All right, so that concludes our second quiz for this module. If there's anything that still confuses you, make sure you start so you can ask me in class tomorrow. Bye.